Have you ever felt like your prayers are going unanswered? Like you are stuck in the waiting room of life, wondering if God even hears you? Maybe you have cried out to Him, but all you have heard is silence. Today, we are going to dive into a story that speaks directly to those moments. Yes, the story of Bartimaeus, a blind man whose faith turned a delay into a destiny. What if I told you that the delays you are experiencing might not be roadblocks, but stepping stones towards something greater? Stick around because by the end of this message, you will see that God's silence doesn't mean He's absent. And your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Let's dive in. Our story begins in Mark 10, verse 46, where Bartimaeus is sitting by the roadside in Jericho. He's blind, he's begging, and he has been waiting. But when he hears that Jesus is passing by, he doesn't stay silent. He shouts, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Bartimaeus was physically blind, and yet he had a spiritual sight. Mark 10, verse 47 says that he calls out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Now, this title, Son of David, is very significant. It acknowledges Jesus as the Messiah, the promised one from God. Even in his blindness, Bartimaeus saw what others missed. His faith allowed him to recognize Jesus' true identity. Often, it's in our own seasons of struggle and waiting that we see Jesus most clearly. So, are you in a season of blindness, a time when you can't see the way forward? Take heart. Sometimes spiritual clarity comes in the midst of physical or emotional darkness. Well, Bartimaeus teaches us critical lesson. Delays don't mean that you stop crying out to God. Sometimes God allows delays to deepen our faith and our dependence on Him. What are you waiting on God for today? Healing, breakthrough, maybe a new direction in life. Don't stop praying. Don't stop believing. Delays aren't denials. They are opportunities to build unshakable faith. In verse 48, we see the crowd trying to shut Bartimaeus down. They rebuke him, they tell him to be quiet, but Bartimaeus doesn't let their negativity stop him. Instead, he cries out even louder. When you are in a season of waiting, there will always be voices of doubt, fear, criticism, discouragement, and many other voices that will try to silence our faith. The enemy loves to use discouragement to stop us from pressing into God, from pursuing God. Like Bartimaeus, we have to rise above the noise. Let our faith be louder than the doubts, louder than the discouragement, criticism, fears, anxieties, louder than the critics, louder than the delays. Yes? Moving on to verse 49 is where the story shifts. Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." Notice something powerful here. Jesus didn't immediately respond to Bartimaeus' first cry. He waited. But when the time was right, he stopped and called Bartimaeus forward. God's timing is never late. What feels like silence to us is actually preparation. God is aligning the circumstances, building our character, and preparing us for what's next. Imagine baking bread. If you take it out of the oven too soon, it's raw and unfinished. Delays in our spiritual life are just like that. They are God's way of making sure that we are ready for the fullness of His blessing. His time is perfect. Crowd which had been trying to silence Bartimaeus now tells him, "Cheer up. On your feet, He is calling you." This moment is pivotal. Jesus' call transforms the situation, turning opposition into support. When Jesus calls, it changes everything. His call is an invitation to come as we are. But it also challenges us to leave behind what holds us back. How would you respond when Jesus calls you today? Would you hesitate, weighed down by doubts or past burdens? Or would you, like Bartimaeus, seize the opportunity to draw near to Him? For you don't know, it could be the last call. Moving on to verse 50, Bartimaeus threw his cloak aside jumped to his feet, and came running to Jesus. Now, this act is rich in symbolism. For a beggar, the coat was not just a clothing, it was his shelter, his means of collecting alms, and a symbol of his identity. By casting it aside, Bartimaeus was demonstrating his faith and readiness for a transformed life. So, what coat are you holding on to? Is there something in your life that represents your old identity, maybe your safety net, or your past? To fully embrace the new life Jesus offers us, we must be willing to let go of the old. It's a step of faith, trusting that what He has for us is far greater than what we leave behind. When Bartimaeus finally stands before Jesus, Jesus asks, "What do you want me to do for you?" Now Bartimaeus boldly responds, "Rabbi, I want to see." He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't doubt, he declares his need with confidence. So, in the moments of our delay, it's easy to grow passive or maybe lose focus. But faith requires action. It means boldly stepping out, declaring God's promises, and trusting Him to move. What are you asking God for today? Speak it in faith. Moving down to verse 52, Jesus says, "Go, your faith has healed you." Instantly, Bartimaeus receives his sight and begins to follow Jesus. Now, his healing wasn't about his effort or timing, it was all about his faith. Read that verse once again. Your faith is the key to unlocking God's promises. So don't let delays discourage you. Keep pressing in, keep believing, and watch how God turns your waiting into a testimony of His faithfulness. Bartimaeus' story reminds us that when God seems silent, He's not absent. His delays are never wasted. They are working together for your good and His glory. Now, if you are in a season of waiting today, I want to encourage you, don't stop crying out to Jesus. Don't let the crowd silence your faith. Trust that God's timing is perfect and keep believing for your breakthrough. If this message has inspired you, take a moment to pray, surrender your delays and doubts to God, and ask Him to open your spiritual eyes to see Him more clearly. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more messages of hope and faith. Let's grow in faith together. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and keep your eyes on Jesus. God bless you.